artists. Today we are going to learn about a new concept that involves landscapes. It involves pictures of the outside. Now, before we talk about the different grounds, you need to understand that a landscape can be anywhere outside. It can be a city, it can be a farm, it can be mountainous, it can be flat, it can be an ocean, it can be in desert. Anywhere outside is considered a landscape. And we have three different grounds that we use in art when we are making landscapes. They are the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. Now, we've talked a lot about background, but we have typically talked about it as whatever is behind your art or around your art. That's not exactly the same as this kind of background. This is talking about the different areas, of land. So when we talk about foreground, we mean the things that are closest to us. When we talk about middle ground, it's the things kind of in the middle of the painting or picture, and the background are the things that are way far away. Now, we all understand that this is a flat painting. This is Starry Night. It's painted by Vincent van Gogh. It's a very famous painting. But we also can understand that even though it is flat, it looks like it has depth. It looks like things are far away. That's what our grounds do. This tree right here is called a cypress tree. It is close to us. It is in the foreground where it looks like it is. This little town, the trees, that's the middle ground. It's farther away than this tree, but it's not as far away as these mountains, which are in the background. So one is closest, middle is middle, back is farthest away from you. There are many ways to make this show, to have this appear in your artwork. Size is one of them. The things in the foreground are the biggest objects because they're closest to you. Now, if you think about like a car driving down a road, when a car is right next to you, it's very, very big. But when it's way far away from you, it looks small. That doesn't mean that the car shrunk. We know that. It just gets smaller as it gets farther away. Look at this bridge way back here in the background. It looks tiny. These people look taller than the bridge. We know that's not true. But because it's so far away, it looks small. Then you got this middle ground here where the tree is big, but yet the people are big as well because they're closest. One thing that is mentioned on this picture is the horizon line. The horizon line is where the earth stops and the sky starts. Around here, the horizon is very flat. In other areas of the country and the world, the horizon might be really bumpy or, mountainous. That just depends on where you are. But the horizon is simply when the earth stops and the sky starts. Now, when you're little, kindergarten, first grade, your sky usually starts at the top of or stops at the top of the page. But if you remember when you were younger, I would always tell you sky goes until it touches the ground. That is the horizon line. So if we look at this painting here, you can see the three areas. I hope already it should be easy for you to figure out which is which. This is the foreground. This is the middle. And this is the background. Now this slide illustrates another good way to make things look like they have depth or have space. The foreground is always at the bottom of the page. The middle is in the middle. The background is higher up. Oh, Mrs. Kerber. This illustrates that very well. The foreground here, these cows, this grass, this tall tree, all at the bottom of the page. It doesn't mean it can't go tall. This tree is very tall, but it starts at the bottom of the page. The middle is in the middle. the lake or river or whatever it is, the boats, these trees here. And then higher up are the mountains, and that's the background. They get smaller and go up. Those are the two ways to show depth, to show distance on a flat piece of paper. There are more ways, but these are the best two. Look at this tree. It's at the bottom of the page and it's big. Look at it compared to these trees. You don't see the detail on these trees. You can't really see anything about them because they're small. That's the whole point. Smaller and higher up makes things look far away. Here's another great example. This is an actual photograph. So it's not something someone made up, but look how big these rocks are. These rocks look bigger than these trees. Well, of course we know that's not true. We know that rocks are not bigger than trees, but that tells our brain that these trees are farther away. And even these rocks are probably the same size as these rocks. I mean, it's all the same river or creek or whatever you want to call it. These trees here are probably the same size as these trees here. Our brain understands that because we're smart, but we see them smaller, so therefore our brain tells us, oh, that means they're farther away. Here's just a couple more examples of different landscapes. Apparently I was drawn towards mountains. I have lots of mountain examples. I do love mountains. Some people think that the sky is background. The sky is not background. The sky is the sky. It's not background. These are all grounds. Foreground, middle ground, background. It's all part of the grounds. I love this picture. This is a lot different than the ones we've been looking at. It is a landscape though. It's outside. Just a pair of shoes and a suitcase and a camera. Like someone's going on a trip or something and these are the things they're taking. Again, you can see a little bit of a house back here, but these shoes look bigger than the house. The suitcase looks bigger than the house. We know that's not true. We know someone's shoes are not bigger than these evergreen trees. It's just the distance. They're higher up on the page and they're smaller. I love this example too. Look at these shoes, how close they look to us. We know those shoes probably fit that human or someone similar to that human. So we know they're not really that size. We know they're just closer to us. Our brain figures those things out. This human, looks like a boy, I think, I'm not positive, is taller than this street lamp. Well, of course that's not real. It just looks that way because the street lamp is so far away. Again, dog way bigger than mountains? No, but it makes sense when we think of how close that dog is and how far away those mountains are. Now this is a student example. You can tell that it's hand-drawn, obviously, hand-colored, but it has grounds. A foreground, a middle ground, a background. We're going to do a project that has all three. That's your goal. You can choose any landscape you want. And I'll talk about that a little bit in the demo video. But it's important for you to understand that your drawing is going to have enough objects in it to give that idea. Look how many grounds this one has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different grounds. That's cool. This one doesn't have quite as many. Really just kind of 3 if you break it up here. Foreground, middle ground, background. But you certainly get the idea of depth because this pumpkin's way bigger than this tree. It's also way bigger than the moon because they're so far away. Here's another very different one with some flowers up close, some mid-range grass, and then some mountains in the background. This one is cut paper, but it's the same thing. I mean, it's still got the foreground, middle ground, background. And I wanted you to see all these examples because I want different types of drawings. I don't want them all to look like mine. So that's why I'm giving you so many different examples here. So now you're going to click on the demonstration video, and I'll talk a little bit about